Big news out of the NFL and Raider Nation. You'll want to pay attention to this one. The Indianapolis Colts just made a shocking move by benching their young quarterback, Anthony Richardson, in favor of Daniel Jones. Now, whenever something like this happens, the big question pops up. Should the Las Vegas Raiders make a move? Before listening to the latest news, subscribe to the channel, like it, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Let's move on to the new news. Here's the thing, Richardson was the number 4 overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. And when a player that talented gets benched this early, you know other teams start circling. The Raiders right now are still figuring out their quarterback depth chart. Aiden O'Connell is a question mark, and the backup spot doesn't exactly inspire confidence. That's why some are saying, why not take a gamble on Richardson? Think about it. We've seen quarterbacks like Trey Lance get traded for mid-round picks despite being high draft selections. Could the Raiders pull off something similar here? It's not impossible. Here's the big question, Raider Nation. Should the Raiders actually trade for Anthony Richardson? Now, I'm not saying it's a sure thing, but it's also not impossible. Everything depends on the price tag. If the deal is right, this is the kind of gamble that could change the Raiders' future. Why? First, Aiden O'Connell hasn't looked like the guy many hoped he would be. His development feels stuck. We've all seen it, slow tempo, bad decisions, and a step back compared to last season. Even coaches have pointed out that the offense just doesn't move as quickly when O'Connell is under center. That's a real concern. Second, Richardson is still one of the most athletic quarterbacks we've ever seen come out of college. Back in 2023, even coaches around the league admitted he had rare talent. If a player like that is suddenly available, the Raiders at least have to consider it. So is this trade likely? Probably not. But is it worth talking about? Absolutely. Because when you combine the Raiders' shaky quarterback situation with Richardson's upside, you can see why this rumor won't die down anytime soon. Here's what makes this really interesting for Raider Nation. When respected coaches around the league openly praise Anthony Richardson's talent, it's not just empty talk. It means they see something rare. And that's exactly why the Raiders should at least keep their eyes on him. Think about it. This is a 21-year-old quarterback with tools that some people compare to Josh Allen. The arm strength, the athletic ability, the raw ceiling, it's all there. The only thing he's missing is the right environment to grow in. And here's where the Raiders come in. This team now has stability in its coaching staff, a system being built for the long haul, and veterans who could help Richardson develop the right way. He doesn't need to be perfect on day one. He just needs a chance to grow. That's why the upside argument is so strong. If the Raiders are serious about finding a long-term answer at quarterback, how many options out there carry more potential than Richardson? Very few. When you look around the league, the story of Anthony Richardson feels familiar. We've seen raw quarterbacks struggle early, only to explode later once they landed in the right system. Josh Allen is the perfect example. He went from a 54% passer in college to one of the most dangerous players in football, simply because his coaches built around his strengths. Now imagine what could happen if Richardson found that kind of support in Las Vegas. The Raiders have a front office determined to build a winning culture and coaches who know how to maximize talent. This is a place where a quarterback with Richardson's tools could actually grow instead of being thrown away too early. And that's the key. His upside is undeniable. With the right guidance, he could go from a benched rookie in Indianapolis to a long-term answer for the silver and black. Raider Nation, if that happens, it wouldn't just be a gamble. It could be the steal of the decade. Here's something a lot of Raider fans might not realize. The front office in Las Vegas has key decision makers who came straight from the Philadelphia Eagles. And why does that matter? Because the Eagles once took a chance on Jalen Hurts, a quarterback many doubted early on. People said he couldn't throw, that he wasn't polished enough. But with the right coaching, Hurts developed into one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Now imagine applying that same philosophy to Anthony Richardson. The Raiders have a staff and a system in place that could give him the time he needs to grow. He's younger than both Aiden O'Connell and Cam Miller, yet his upside is much higher. That's what makes this such an intriguing conversation for Raider Nation. This isn't about hype. It's about possibilities. The Raiders have shown they're willing to think long-term, and Richardson could be the kind of project that pays off in a massive way if the front office believes in him. And of course, the big question is, what would it actually cost the Raiders to make a move like this? Stick around because we're about to break that down next. All right, Raider Nation, let's get into the part you've been waiting for. What would it actually take for Las Vegas to land Anthony Richardson? If the Colts are truly ready to move on, the Raiders don't need to overpay. Look at recent history. Trey Lance was a top 3 pick, and the Cowboys only gave up a 4th rounder for him. That sets the market. So when we're talking Richardson, a player with elite upside but still unproven, a fair offer could look very similar. Here's one scenario. The Raiders send Aiden O'Connell plus a mid-round draft pick to Indianapolis. That gives the Colts a solid backup for Daniel Jones while giving the Raiders a shot at developing a quarterback with superstar potential. Would I give up multiple high picks? No, but a single mid-rounder, maybe packaged with O'Connell, feels realistic. And if it works out, the reward is massive. The Raiders could finally have their future quarterback locked in. So here's the trade idea. The Raiders send Aiden O'Connell and a 5th-round pick to the Colts in exchange for Anthony Richardson. Sounds simple, but here's why it makes sense. Las Vegas has extra draft capital coming, including compensatory picks, which makes parting with a 5th much easier. For the Colts, once you bench Richardson, his value inside that locker room is gone. They know his time there is likely finished. Swapping him for a backup quarterback and a draft pick is about as good as it gets for them. And for the Raiders, that's a win. O'Connell doesn't show the long-term upside Richardson does, and this team needs a future at quarterback. Sure, Richardson will take time to develop, but the ceiling is enormous. And here's something to think about. He could help right away too. Richardson is built for short yardage situations. Think about the tush-push play that the Eagles made famous. With his size and power, Richardson could instantly become a weapon in those crucial 4th and short moments that decide games. For a Raiders team fighting for every inch in a tough AFC West, that alone could be the difference between winning and losing. All right, Raider Nation, let's switch gears and get into what went down at training camp today. It was a light session, no pads, more like a first day of school vibe. Players were out there, but not pushing full speed. Still, there were 2 names I was locked in on, and both were back on the field. First, Raheem Mostert. He missed time dealing with a personal family matter, but today he was back in uniform, moving well. That's a great sign for the run game depth. Second, rookie corner QB Kelly. He had also missed practice, but today he was not only back, he was being tested. Coaches lined him up both in the nickel and outside, showing they want to see how versatile he can be. For a young player trying to lock down a roster spot, that's huge. Bottom line, nothing heavy today, but seeing Mostert and Kelly return is a positive step for this roster as they head toward the preseason finale. If you're keeping an eye on the secondary, pay attention this week to how the Raiders line up their corners. QB Kelly has been moving between nickel and outside. Darian Porter is getting more looks, and Cameron Richardson is another young corner worth watching closely. At safety, Terrell Edmonds saw extended reps at free safety today. Coaches clearly want to see him fill that Lonnie Johnson Jr. role while Johnson recovers. Still, I'll be honest, Edmonds and Isaiah Pola-Mao both make me a little uneasy when they're the last line of defense. That's a position battle Raider Nation needs to keep tabs on. Overall, today's practice was light, more walkthrough than war. But the takeaways are clear. The staff is testing versatility in the secondary, and they're making sure the depth pieces are ready. And Raider Nation, we're almost there. The off-season grind is nearly over, and regular season football is right around the corner. Stick with me. We're going to break down every move, every battle, and every storyline that matters for the silver and black.